In the future, Earth has become so polluted that the air is toxic, and the sky, once blue, has turned a strange purple color. Most people had no choice but to leave the planet, escaping to a space station near one of Jupiter's moons to survive. However, a small group of people still believe Earth can be restored to its natural state. Among them is a scientist named Sam Weldon, who shares this hope with her father, also a scientist. One day, Sam visits an art gallery to gather materials for her research. She has to wear a mask to protect herself from the dangerous air. While there, she notices tiny insects living in the water, which seems strange in such a polluted place. She carefully collects samples of these insects for further study. As she checks her oxygen supply, she realizes she's almost out. Sam rushes outside where the world is thick with pollution. She hurries to her car, changes her oxygen tank, and drives away. After a long drive, she finally reaches a road sign that says "Clean CO2, marking the start of a mountainous region where the air is still clean enough to breathe without a mask. It is here, in this peaceful, unpolluted place, that Sam and her father have set up their lab, working tirelessly to find a way to heal the planet. Sam heads back to her lab, where she connects online with her boyfriend, who lives on the space station orbiting near Jupiter. During their conversation, she explains her father's belief: as long as bees still exist, Earth can be saved. Her father taught her that when bees collect nectar from flowers, pollen sticks to their bodies. As they move to other flowers, this pollen falls, helping new plants grow in different places. This is why Sam has dedicated her time to raising bees, hoping that they can bring life back to the planet, making it green again, and helping to clear the pollution that has choked the Earth. The pollution has caused almost all trees and plants to die off, leaving the planet barren. To test her father's theory, Sam releases a bee into a controlled environment within her lab, designed to mimic the polluted conditions outside. She watches, hoping the bee will adapt and survive in the toxic air. However, despite her efforts, the bee does not survive. Sam feels disappointed, but she remains confident that her father's theory is correct. She knows the process will be difficult, but she's determined to find a way. Sam is working alone, as her father is no longer with her. All she has left is a recorded message from him. In the recording, her father's voice repeats the same hopeful message: "This is our home. We will make it as it once was. We must not abandon it." The message is broadcast continuously in the hope that the remaining people on Earth will hear it and be inspired to stay, to rebuild, and to restore the planet to its former state. Sam understands how hard this task is, but she refuses to give up, holding on to the hope that Earth can be made whole again. Sam chats with her boyfriend again, and he shares some big news. The team on the space station has discovered a planet with an atmosphere just like Earth's. He tells her they now have a chance to start fresh somewhere else. As he speaks, the connection suddenly becomes unstable, and the screen flickers. The interference prevents them from continuing their conversation, and Sam realizes she needs to repair her communication system. To fix it, she decides to return to the art gallery she visited before. She finds the necessary wires she needs, as well as some books about the paintings displayed there. She grabs everything and hurries back outside, only to notice the sky growing darker with signs of an approaching storm. The air looks thick and ominous, and she knows she must reach her home quickly before it gets worse. Sam races back to the safety of her lab in the hills, but the storm's intensity surprises her. The powerful winds carry the polluted air from the rest of the world into the hilly area. The once clear air is now tainted, turning the atmosphere around her a frightening purple. As she rushes into her cabin, she tries to close all the windows, but the force of the wind makes it impossible. Realizing she can't stop the storm, she quickly puts on her oxygen mask and sets to work on repairing her communication system. Once her system is fixed, Sam reads her boyfriend's message. He explains that the journey to the newly discovered planet will take 10 years. Instead of using smaller spaceships, they plan to move the entire space station there, despite the risks. He tells her that in 4 days, multiple rockets will arrive at the space station to transport the remaining people from Earth. This will be the last chance for anyone left on Earth to join them, and he warns her that after these 4 days, no more rockets will be able to make the journey. Sam is completely torn, unsure if she should stay on Earth and continue her father's mission or leave for the space station and the new planet. Overwhelmed, she falls asleep while wrestling with her thoughts. The next morning, she wakes up and looks outside. She notices that the fire in the hills, which had turned purple from the pollution, is now back to its usual yellow. This means the air is once again breathable, at least for the moment. She immediately heads to her bee farm, hoping for a sign of life. But when she arrives, her heart sinks. Everything has been destroyed by the storm. All the beehives are gone, and not a single bee remains. The storm has wiped out her entire farm, shattering her hopes. Feeling a deep sadness, she messages her boyfriend, telling him the storm has ruined everything and killed the bees. She also admits that she doesn't have enough oxygen tanks to make the long journey to where the rockets will be launching. She feels trapped and hopeless. As she stands outside, lost in her thoughts, she spots something unusual in the sky, a large balloon drifting down toward her area. She watches as it lands nearby, and a man steps out. He introduces himself as Mika. The first thing he does is light a small fire and check the air quality. He confirms that the air is safe to breathe, which gives Sam a bit of relief. She walks up to him, curious and cautious. Mika explains that he heard a broadcast from a scientist living in this area and has come to meet him because he has many questions that need answers. Sam, not wanting to reveal the truth about her father, tells him that she is the scientist's assistant and that he is currently away conducting research but will return soon. Mika insists he needs to speak with the scientist, as he doesn't have much time. If he doesn't get the answers he's seeking, he plans to leave for the launch site and escape Earth with the others. An idea sparks in Sam's mind. She considers the possibility of leaving Earth with Mika. However, she keeps her thoughts to herself for now. Instead, she invites Mika inside her lab. As he steps in, he notices the abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables Sam has managed to grow, despite the harsh conditions outside. Mika is surprised, clearly not expecting to see such things in this polluted world. Sam even offers him some honey, and as he tastes it, a look of pure joy crosses his face. He tells her it's the first sweet thing he's tasted in years. While they talk, Sam casually asks Mika if he has seen any animals or insects during his travels. Mika shakes his head and says he hasn't come across any signs of life. This news doesn't surprise Sam, but it does confirm the severity of the situation. She then informs Mika that the scientist he's looking for won't be back for another 2 weeks, and he will have to stay with her until then. Mika, eager to ask his questions and impressed by the promise of answers, agrees to wait. Mika explores the lab, his eyes wide with amazement at the technology and resources Sam has managed to gather. The lab is well equipped, with advanced machinery and supplies that are hard to come by in the world's current state. Mika admits that he hasn't seen anything like it anywhere else. Sam explains that the storm recently destroyed her bee farm and much of her research work. Hearing this, Mika offers to help her repair the farm. That night, Sam and Mika have a deep conversation. Sam finally reveals that the scientist Mika has been searching for is actually her father. She explains that he was the one conducting experiments to try and restore Earth's environment. She shows Mika some old footage of her father's work. In one video, her father tests the ability of a pig to survive in the toxic atmosphere. At first, the pig seems to breathe normally, which gave her father hope that if animals could adapt, humans might be able to as well. But shortly after, the pig dies, proving the experiment a failure. It was then that her father turned his focus to studying bees. Mika's expression shifts as he listens, becoming more cautious and suspicious. Deciding to investigate further, he heads to the room Sam said belonged to her father. When he opens the door, he finds it abandoned, covered in dust and untouched for a long time. He confronts Sam, demanding, "Where is your father really?" Sam, looking down, finally admits the truth. She explains that her father, mother, and she once lived and worked together here. Her father had believed that it was possible to use the polluted air and change it to revive Earth's natural state. Even so, he never forced her or her mother to stay. He constantly encouraged them to go to the space station, knowing the risks of staying behind, but she and her mother believed in him, so they chose to stay and support his work. Over time, however, her mother's health began to decline from the polluted air. Despite all their efforts, she couldn't survive and eventually passed away. This loss devastated her father. He then urged Sam to leave for the space station, fearing for her safety, but Sam refused to abandon their work. After her mother's death, her father fell into despair, eventually giving up and removing his oxygen mask. He passed away not long after, leaving Sam alone. Mika listens, his expression a mix of sadness and frustration. "You should have followed your father's advice, Sam," he says gently. "This planet is beyond saving. The damage is too great. We need to leave here quickly. Time is running out, and the last rocket bound for the space station will be departing soon. However, we can't take off just yet. We must wait for the wind to shift in the right direction before we can launch the balloon and make our escape." After assessing the situation, Sam sends a message to her boyfriend on the space station saying, "There's nothing left for me to research here. I've exhausted every possibility. I'm coming up to join you soon." Meanwhile, Mika arrives at the location where the old bee farm once thrived. The scene is desolate, remnants of the storm scattered across the barren land. As he surveys the wreckage, he spots something unexpected, a bee miraculously alive. Despite the harsh conditions, it has survived, and upon closer inspection, he realizes it's the Queen Bee. A spark of hope ignites in Mika, and he urgently contacts Sam, his voice filled with excitement. "Sam, you need to come here right away. There's a Queen Bee. She's still alive." Sam rushes over, her heart racing. When she arrives, she gazes at the solitary Queen Bee, a mixture of awe and sadness on her face. Although it's a miracle that the queen survived, she feels a pang of despair. One bee alone won't be enough to restore the colony. After this, Sam heads inside where she receives a message from her boyfriend. He tells her that he has been assigned a crucial mission related to the exploration of a new planet, and it will keep him occupied for the next 10 years. He explains that due to the nature of this work, he won't be able to communicate with her during that time, effectively ending their relationship. Sam is devastated. She had planned her journey to the space station solely to be with him. As she sits there overwhelmed by sadness, Mika enters the room. He notices her distress and, understanding her pain, having lost his own family in the past, he tries to cheer her up. Mika's empathy and kindness slowly lift Sam's spirits, and as they spend more time together, they grow closer, finding comfort in each other's company. They share stories, laugh, and form a deeper bond over the next few hours. Later that night, the balloon's alert system starts beeping, indicating that the wind has finally shifted in the right direction and they can prepare for departure. However, just as they begin to get ready, a broadcast comes through on the radio. The news reports that a technical issue has arisen at the original launch site for the space station. As a result, the rocket will now be launched from an alternative site, which is much farther away. Sam and Mika realize that even if they leave immediately, they won't be able to reach the new location within the 24-hour time frame needed for takeoff. Mika, filled with frustration and grief, lashes out at Sam, accusing her of being the reason for his family's death. He blames her father, saying that it was his advice that convinced them to stay on Earth, which ultimately led to the loss of his entire family. His words strike a chord with Sam, making her realize that her father's message had indeed caused many people to remain on Earth, clinging to the hope of restoring the planet. This harsh truth weighs heavily on her. Determined to set things right, Sam decides to broadcast a message on the same frequency her father had once used. In her announcement, she reveals the painful truth that her father had died a year ago, and that all research to save the Earth had ceased. She warns the remaining survivors that the last rocket is preparing to leave for the space station, urging everyone left on Earth to make their way to it before it's too late. Sam and Mika both know they need to escape too, but there's a problem. They need a substantial amount of helium gas to reach the rocket. Sam reassures Mika, telling him she knows of a location where they can find helium cylinders. Without wasting time, they gather their belongings, packing everything they might need for the journey. Mika and Sam arrive at the location where the helium is stored. Mika's face lights up with relief as he spots the helium cylinders. Wasting no time, he begins filling the balloons with the gas, eager to prepare for their departure. Sam, however, remains conflicted. Though she knows they must leave for the space station, she feels torn. She tells Mika, "I'll be back shortly." Mika nods and reminds her, "We have an hour before we need to leave." Sam walks to a place that has always felt special to her, the art gallery she frequents. It holds a deep emotional significance, a reminder of a world she once loved. As she enters, she is drawn to a particular painting she has admired countless times. She stands in front of it, letting the memories wash over her. Meanwhile, Mika realizes that Sam's oxygen supply is running low. Knowing where she would have gone, he follows her to the gallery. When he finds her, he gently urges, "Sam, you need to change your oxygen cylinder." Sam looks at him, her eyes filled with determination. "No, Mika," she replies. "I remember when my father was working on this painting. I once lit a fire nearby, and the flames turned purple. The air was toxic, but I didn't have a mask on. We need to adapt to this environment, to survive in it. I truly believe that Earth will eventually heal itself. I need to stay." With those words, Sam takes off her mask, breathing in the polluted air. Mika's eyes widen, and he rushes to embrace her, understanding the depth of her commitment. The two share a moment of closeness, revealing the unspoken connection between them. "We've been through so much together," Mika whispers, his voice heavy with emotion. Sam nods. "I have to stay and fight for this planet. This is my home." She takes a deep breath, accepting the reality of her choice. Mika, with a heavy heart, knows he must respect her decision. The scene shifts to show Mika walking alone, heading towards the rocket launch site. He leaves, but his expression carries the weight of his love and loss. Years later, Sam stands on a quiet beach, looking out at the ocean. A child stands beside her, her son, the child she had with Mika. Sam has learned to adapt, surviving in this environment just like the queen bee that she once studied. She's content, surrounded by the earth she loves so dearly. Sam smiles as she watches the waves, feeling at peace. "I dreamed of this moment for so long, and now it's real," she whispers. She sends a broadcast to those who left Earth saying, "We are still here, waiting for you." The air is improving, And there is no place in the universe better than our Earth. We won't make the same mistakes again. We will cherish and protect our planet, its animals, its birds, its trees, and its life. As her message fades, the story concludes with hope, a promise to love and nurture the Earth forever.